Keith Macpherson is here. He just signed a copy of his new book for me. Keith, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
I really appreciate it. And the launch party is tomorrow night.
It is. That's
at
right.
McNally Robinson.
Yes, it is.
7 o'clock. And you are going to perform as well. You're going to sing.
I'm going to sing. I'm going to read. I'm going to speak. I'm going to sign books.
Excellent.
It'll be great.
Yeah. So get out there and get the book. And I mean, most Winnipeggers and Manitobans know what a great performer you are. So
thank you.
That's a bonus. And the music career continues, right? That's going nowhere.
It does. In fact, the book that I wrote kind of stemmed out of my music career, and I was kind of led into this journey of mindfulness through music. So
let's start with a real simple question. What is mindfulness? Explain that to me, because it's one of those words we hear a lot now, but what does it really mean?
Yeah, well, it's such a buzzword. When I was writing the book, people were saying, isn't that practice where you taste raisins really slowly? Or you just sit around on a cushion and breathe?
Yeah,
and I was like, well, I got to get to the bottom of this.
Yeah.
So in its most simple form, what I've found is mindfulness is paying attention in the present moment to yourself and other people around you with kindness. And at first that sounds so simple.
Yeah.
But it's quite a challenge these days to actually be present with kindness to ourselves, especially ourselves and others around us.
Yeah. Well, and I don't know if it's as I get older, but some things have become really important to me, like gratitude is huge for me. What was you just said the word that I was going to, and then I
Kindness?
lost. Kindness is huge. There's this young kid, Jaden Schritt, he calls himself Winnipeg's kindness kid. And I just really think it's really important for us to have those things in our life. And as you point out, it's often a challenge, right?
It can be these days. I mean, we're so bombarded by noise from everything coming at us.
Yeah.
I think the world of digital technology, as great as it is in terms of keeping us on top of things, really bombards a lot of us and disconnects us. You know, we've got these phones that are telling us how many hours we're sleeping and how many steps we should take and who we should be friends with and where we should eat and what we should buy. And it's really hard to just turn that off and ask ourselves internally, like, what do I truly want right now?
Yeah.
You know, so this is a practice of returning back to that place of clarity within ourselves.
So what happened then? You're an artist, a musician, you're out there performing, and explain the connection to the book and now and the website and all that stuff.
Yeah, well, music to me is an entryway into this practice of mindfulness. I don't know if you've ever noticed when a good song comes on and everybody starts singing along, it doesn't matter where you come from, whether you're rich, poor, different gender, equality. It's like all of a sudden the music comes on and everybody's singing. And to me, just being a musician since the 7th grade and growing up playing music, I've seen this everywhere. I've played in some of the richest places in the world and some of the poorest. And it always comes back to that place of connection, you know? Underneath the surface of all that we think separates us, there's this inherent connection that takes place. And when we're really present in the moment, we start tapping into it. And I see it through the language of music. I mean, it's a universal language. Yeah. And, you know, when I was playing in Kenya, although they didn't speak the same language, they were still dancing to the songs, you know, and they were teaching me songs. And it's all about that.
Yeah. And you're right. Music does. It takes us to happy times, sad times. It helps us remember people from our past. You're right. And it's a connection that we all share, isn't it?
Absolutely, yeah. I think back to like the 7th grade when I started music and I was failing French class. And I went to my teacher and said, can I do something to get my grade up? And she was kind enough to give me an extra project. So I went home that night, learned a few chords on the guitar, translated an old Bob Dylan song into French.
Wow.
Got up in front of my whole school and played the song. And all of a sudden, my worst nightmare came true. All the students were making fun of me. The girl I had a crush on was laughing. And in the middle of the song, I got my first real intuition that I remember that said, reminded me, I just learned the chords to Fred Penner's song, The Cat Came Back. So I broke into that song, and all of a sudden, the whole school started singing along with me. And I thought, this is powerful. And, you know, ever since then, it's just like every time I pick up a guitar and sing, I feel this inherent connection with everybody. And there's nothing better than that. So
isn't that incredible, eh? That you kind of bombed, not really, because I'm sure it was wonderful, but you kind of bombed and then you knocked it out of the park.
Well, this is the thing, you know, I think in those times of struggle when we're really having a hard time with life, those are the moments where we grow the most. In the book, I wrote about this saying, Ika Pono Mea, which stems from ancient Hawaii. And Ika Pono Mea means everything is happening perfectly on time. Now, Now, it doesn't always feel that way. Like when I left my wallet at home last week on the way to Toronto, I'm like, this is not ikapono, man. But, in those moments, you realize that there's lessons to be learned, and our growth happens in those struggles. So all the way back to the 7th grade, when I was failing, I had my biggest growth in that moment too.
Yeah.
So,
one that I can pronounce, a saying I can pronounce, everything happens for a reason, right?
Absolutely.
Kind of the same sentiment, sort of, right?
It really does, yeah. And the synchronicities of things, when we really start tapping into that belief, are amazing. Like I run into you in Gimli, and now I'm here on your radio show. I mean,
I know.
All these things just happen. The right people, the right events are taking place. And if we just simply shift the way we're looking at it, that really annoying person in the workplace that sits next to us every day, it's like that person is annoying on one hand, but may have lessons to teach us about things like patience or compassion or understanding. So it's changing the way you look at things.
Yeah. And the book, I want to make sure you sell some books here. The book is Making Sense of Mindfulness, ... 5 principles to integrate mindfulness practice into your daily life. Can you just give us an example or one, and I'll let people buy the book for the other 4, but give us an example of what you're getting at.
Absolutely. Well, let's start with, I'll just talk about principle 1. It's really a simple one. It's everything begins as an inner dream. And when I say inner dream, everything begins as a thought in our inner imagination. For many of us, our thoughts are beating us up as opposed to building us up. So an invitation in principle 1 is to start getting really clear on like, what am I thinking about on a daily basis? We think over 60,000 thoughts a day, according to the research, and 85% of those thoughts tend to be chronic negative thoughts. So all of a sudden, that starts creating the reality around us. And we start going, oh, life is so hard. Life is so difficult. These become mantras. We wake up in the morning and we go, oh, I'm so tired. Do I have to go to work? And that just starts completely becoming a hamster wheel where we end up living that reality. So principle 1 of mindfulness is in this present moment, what am I thinking about? And can I shift my thinking? Can I set reminders around me that start telling me the things I do want to create in my life? And, it's just a really basic, principle 1 is really a basic practice, but it's starting to monitor what we're thinking about.
Well, and you're right that many of our thoughts during the day are negative, and sometimes it's as easy as just trying really hard to make them positive, right? I mean, that's sort of the basic beginning of what you're getting at, and that can be difficult. That's hard.
It can be very difficult. I always suggest when I'm giving talks and workshops that people go to a good place in their imagination. The image it's the same thing as imagine. When we go to a good place in our mind and our feelings, it automatically shifts our physiology. So a practice that I do in this principle is in the morning, will close my eyes and I invoke all my senses and I imagine myself in Maui, Hawaii, of all places. And I can feel the sand at Kaanapali Beach and I can hear the waves, and all of a sudden I'm there. And the unconscious part of us, our unconscious mind, doesn't know the difference. It takes things very literally. So when I think the thoughts and I start invoking the feelings and the senses of a good place, even in the hardest of days, if I just take that pause and I go to a good place in my thinking and my feeling, my entire day can shift because my whole body shifts, like my physiology. And then I'm shifted, and actually everyone around me is shifted as well. They go, what the heck? Why do you seem like you're in Hawaii? And I'm like, because I was in Hawaii.
Right.
And I saved all the air miles too.
You didn't have to spend any money or air miles to get there.
Exactly.
So the book is called Making Sense of Mindfulness. Again, the launch is tomorrow night. McNally Robinson at 7 o'clock. Keith is going to perform. He'll be there with the book. I imagine you'll do a reading from the book and sign. And I really invite people to get out there. You're a great Manitoba and Winnipeg success story as a musician, as a performer. And now you're an author. You've got the book, but I know you got a really cool website, Keith Macpherson. Is it .com or .ca?
.ca.
KeithMacPherson.ca, good Canadian, KeithMacPherson.ca. Go and check it out because you are doing workshops and you're speaking and all that kind of stuff as well.
That's right. And in fact, this week, I'm about to launch a brand new free online course for people that want to take a deeper dive into mindfulness practice.
Excellent. And they can find that at the website.
It will be there this week.
Excellent. Hey, best of luck. Really good seeing you. Glad I ran into you up in Gimli. And best of luck with the book and keep us posted, okay?
Thanks, Hal. I will.
Keith Macpherson joining us here on Cjob again. 7 o'clock tomorrow night, McNally Robinson. The book is called Making Sense of Mindfulness, or go to the website, KeithMacPherson.ca.